Hello, everybody. I hope that you're well. So this is the last video in my little energy series that I've created. And this series has gone through each of the individual centers within human design, and there are 9 of them. So this video is all about the root center. And the root center is much like the head, it's a pressure center. But this is how we move through the world, right? So with the root center, we've got 60% of the population who have it defined. So they have consistent access to this energy. And then we have 40% of the population who have this undefined, which means that they experience this energy depending on their environment and the people around them. Okay, it's a really interesting center. So before I go forward, let me quickly share my screen. So this is on the human design body graph. So this is the body graph. And if you haven't seen your chart, please feel free to go to effiemoss.com and you can generate your chart for free. And it will look very much like this. This is my branded chart. It doesn't matter what color the center is, it's whether it's colored or not, is whether it's defined. So when a center is like this and it's fully colored in, it's defined, which means you have consistent access to this energy. If it's white with colored numbers, then it's undefined. And if it's white with no colored numbers, then it's completely open, which just brings in a different level of sensitivity. And when the centers are white like this, it means that you don't have consistent access to this energy and that you are going to be taking it on from the environment and the people around you. So the root center can be found here. And in this particular chart, it's undefined. So you can see it's white with the gates 52 and 19 active. So this is quite an interesting one. What's also interesting about this particular chart as well is that this here, you can see it's 19, gate 19, and it's in the personality. So this is in the conscious sun, which is your purpose. So which forms part of your purpose, sorry. So this person has gate 19 as part of their purpose, and gate 19 is also found in the root, which tells me that this is going to be about helping others. It's going to be about pushing pushing life force energy through the other centers in order to be able to support and help others. So let me stop sharing so I can see you. Which so it's the root centers. Like the typical way to explain the root center is that the least optimal expression of it is, for example, people who can't leave a to-do list, right? You have 10 things on a to-do list and you feel under pressure to complete them all. Or you need to finish things quickly to kind of get them off your plate in order to be able to move on to the next thing. The other elements of this is more from a personal perspective. So the need to feel needed, the need to feel useful, right? All of this comes from the root center. And I think as well, it also, because it's a pressure center, so it pushes the energy through different elements of your chart. You can feel under pressure to like find something you're passionate about, find something that you want to do, especially as the center sits just above the root center as the sacral, which is your workforce and life force energy, right? So it's trying to kind of push energy into your sacral center so you can then have the energy to go and do, okay? Or you borrow that energy and you only have it in bursts. And then it can also push the energy through to your splenic center, which is quite an intuitive, fear-based type center. And then you've got your emotional center as well on this side, which is obviously, being expressed through frustration, right? Or you might have a moment where suddenly, people get quite emotional and a bit teary because they're feeling under pressure. And that's normally because the root center is pushing its pressure out towards the emotional center, and there might be connectivity between the two. So I think, but then the optimal side of it is comfort in kind of knowing your inner timing. It's knowing that it's okay, I'll get this done. I've got a deadline. It's fine. I know the deadline is, I can pace myself. It's knowing, I need to go meet somebody at 7 o'clock. It's a 15-minute drive to go and meet them. I'll leave at 22. That gives me a bit of a buffer and I'll get there on time. Versus the least optimal expression, which is I need to meet someone at 7 o'clock. I'm going to leave at 6 o'clock, even though I know it's only going to be a 15-minute drive because I hate being late. Right? That's actually one of the least optimal expressions of the root center. Because what you're doing is you're not trusting your inner knowing. You're not trusting that actually you've got this sense of timing that you can lean into, which is often found within the defined route. And it's, you know, another thing as well as to do, I noticed this about my to-do list, right? I have an undefined route, and I'm one of these people that if somebody needs something to get done, I can't leave it till, say it's Friday, I can't leave it to Monday. It'll be constantly on my mind. I'll be thinking about it, right? So I need to relieve the pressure of thinking about it and just get it done and get it out. Like, you won't find me with a backed up to-do list. You won't find me with a backed up list of anything, because the moment I start to have a list, I start to innately feel that I'm under pressure to get this stuff done. Right. And actually, you know, I'm a lot better than I was. And again, you know, this is part of deconditioning, and this is part of kind of realizing where you are in terms of the expression of these centers. So it was quite interesting when I started to learn about the roots, and I sort of went, oh, I do that. Excellent. And it doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve me that I can't just release the pressure on myself and go, it's fine, I'll get to it on Monday. Like, you know, it doesn't, you know, I need to be able to release that pressure on myself and just trust that it's fine. I'll have the time on Monday. I know I need to get it done. And the other challenge for me in particular is that because I'm a projector and I get my energy in bursts, there is this little nagging thing in the back of my mind that thinks, well, am I going to have another burst on Monday? But then I'm then not trusting myself. I'm not trusting my inner knowing. I'm not trusting my projectorisms and my energy type, and knowing that full well I'm going to get the bursts. So why am I telling these silly stories to myself? And you know, and I'm making light of it, right, and calling it silly and things like that. But you know, some of them can be quite like serious, and they can control our lives. You know, I must do. I need to get this stuff done, and we then mistake it for efficiency. You know, being efficient is efficient use of our energy. So, for example, in this moment, you know, am I feeling exhausted and burnt out? Because if I push myself to complete my to-do list because I can't bear to leave it till Monday, then I'm not going to produce something of decent quality, and I'm going to have to redo it on Monday, right? That's efficiency in your energy, in expressing your energy. Is not being efficient in terms of getting your to-do list done. That's just getting stuff done and feeling under pressure to need to complete it. You know, so the root center is, as I said, it's one of two pressure centers within the human design chart. The first one is the head, and then the other one is the root. And it's quite interesting that they're like top and tail of us, if you like. So you have this pressure to kind of know, this pressure to feel inspired, this pressure to kind of think, right? And use your ajna to be able to do that. Pressure. And then you've got the root center on the other ends going, well, it's okay. We need to get things done. We need to do, you know, and not trust our inner timing. And we're not going to trust, like, you know, that we know how to express our energy in the most optimal way for us, right? And it has all these valuable lessons within it. And I think as well, you know, it can also, even though purpose can live a lot in the will, and you have intuition in the spleen, I think as well, the root can also put you under pressure to kind of feel like you're not living your purpose, that you've got there's no reason for you to do things that you want to do. It's this longing to want to belong. It's this longing to want to kind of connect and feel like your life means something. And that's, you know, that is where the root, it has got a lot less, a lot of experiences, and it can challenge the stories that we tell ourselves in a really extreme way. And I think that there is a lot of peace to be made in the root center. So, you know, my husband has a defined root center, and I have an undefined root center. And if I am near him, he can express his pressure as impatience. So he's also somebody who doesn't trust his inner knowing. If you've got a 7 p.m. appointment, 15 minutes away, he'll leave the house at 6. And he gets ever so cross with Alice and I, because we're just like, it's fine, we'll leave at 22. It's plenty of time. We're not late. We never get late. He seems to think we're going to be late. And I can see it in him. I can see him expressing this part of his root center because he's not trusting his inner timing. And that's work. It's work that we do, and we do it in small steps, and you know, and we're getting there. But you know, I can see it being expressed and him feeling under the pressure because he's not trusting his inner knowing, which is actually the energy that his root center is trying to give him, right? And he has access to it, but he's not trusting it. And then there's Alice and I kind of going, well, you know what? That's your stuff. I don't, just because you're experiencing that and I'm over here with my undefined white root space, right? I'm here, I can easily take that on and amplify it and feel even more under pressure and even more stress. But I don't. I kind of just go, you know what, that's your stuff. You're working through that. You're kind of trying to work your way through to the highest expression of that center. So you can trust yourself, you can give yourself more peace, you can relieve that pressure, right? As something that's kind of quite foundational for your life. Whereas Alice and I are over here kind of going, it's all good, that's his stuff. We know that we've got a good inner sense of timing. We know that we'll get there on time. We've allowed a buffer, right? We know that there's a different way of using our energy in terms of efficiency. But then, I'm expressing my root center, my very openness in my root center by going, somebody needs something done, or a client suddenly calls me and goes, oh, we need to get this sorted. I'm like, right, okay. And I write it down and I've got to get it done that day. Okay, because if I leave it, it's going to completely create some I'm going to feel under pressure. It's going to create stress. It's going to create anxiety. Yeah. So when I recognize that, I sort of started going, you know what, maybe releasing it is actually the moment I write it down. So I write it down and now I can release it because actually it's been written down. I'm not going to forget about it. I don't need to keep thinking about it. I've allowed plenty of time in my calendar on Monday to get this done. I've managed everyone's expectations. So the comms is clear. It's going to get done. Right. So it's employing sometimes different tactics in order to be able to give you this cushion. And I'm sure the purists would tell me off for that. I'd be like, no, trust your inner knowing. I am trusting my inner knowing by putting those things in place because that's what I need in order to de-risk the pressure, in order to kind of soften that pressurized feeling. And, I think writing things down, communicating it, making sure I've got the space to actually do the work. Brilliant. Great. And then I can go on my merry way and have a wonderful weekend. So have a think about the root center and whether you can relate to any of these stories, or whether you find that maybe, even the pressure to achieve, like our overachievers, right? Go, go, go. And you'll often find that the athlete energy lives around the root center as well. So that those who can really push themselves through and just keep going and going and going and almost put themselves under that enormous amount of pressure to be able to achieve this amazing thing, that often lives within the root center as well. So our overachievers, for example, again, put themselves under pressure from the root center, defined or undefined, by the way, because undefined, it could be coming in from your environment and other people around you. Think of children in a class, right? You have those that are always putting up their hand, they've got lots of questions, and then they have some children that might be a bit quieter. And those children could start to feel a bit uncomfortable and a bit, a bit uncomfortable and kind of a bit under pressure because they're not the ones going, I know. But then you've got the children that are doing, I know, and feeling under pressure that they need to do that. Because they don't know how to allow themselves to take a moment to kind of step back and just kind of relieve that pressure from themselves and just sit in the moment. So we all express the root center, I think, through different versions of our life stories. And I think it's one of the centers that is pretty heavily conditioned from when we are quite young. We're conditioned from really early ages from school, to do, right? Achieve. And then people have determine people's success based on those achievements, right? And those achievements that pressure tends to come from the root center. So I think it's one of the most it's another lovely center, I think, within the chart, that if you can start to kind of peel back the layers on, you can start to sort of realize like what's yours and what isn't, and whether you really need to hold on to something or not. And where does the pressure actually come from? And are you self-creating it? If you're self-creating it, why? What are you actually blocking from coming through? What are you trying to prevent? Because, for me, it was stress, right? And anxiety and feeling uncomfortable. And if I really got to the crux of it, I didn't want to let anyone down, right? That was at the heart of, I need to get my to-do list done. I need to get it done quickly and that's where perfection comes from and things like that, right? Because I had a lot of that in my chart. So this idea of always having an answer for everything, which I still do a little bit of today, as I said, is a work in progress. And perfectionism, the need to actually kind of, get things right. And probably because when I was at school, I didn't like being told off if I got something wrong, rather than just embracing the wrongness the wrongness, the contrast of it, and gleaning the experience. I didn't have the emotional intelligence to actually understand that. I just thought I was being told off, and I didn't like the feeling of being told off. And probably because at some point someone told me off in a way that I found embarrassing, right? Maybe somebody told me off in front of lots of people and I got a little bit embarrassed. I have no idea, probably. I'm so careful about how you speak to people because the way you make them feel just plays out in their lives. But it comes to surface in this root center, in this pressure pot. So it's a really fascinating center. And as I said, 60% of the population have it defined and 40% of the population have it undefined. So, but no matter whether you have it defined or undefined, how you feel this pressure and how you allow it to kind of drive momentum in your life. You can do it in a very healthy way and use it to drive momentum in your life. Use it to help drive creativity, to feed your sacral energy, to feed your intuition or your emotional response to something. Or you can look at it and kind of almost be beholden to it, right? That you constantly feel under pressure to do. You constantly feel under pressure to achieve. You constantly feel under pressure to solve something, right? So really, it's kind of how do you relieve that pressure? And then again, as I've spoken about before in these videos, it's about catching it in that moment and then just creating the space between you and the thing that you've caught yourself doing and just sitting with it and trying, just thinking it through, contemplate it, observe it. Is this really mine? If I don't get this thing done or I don't do this thing, what's going to happen? Right? Is everything okay in this moment? What other things I can do, like write them down, communicate, etc., to relieve the pressure. And you know these things because you know your life and you know the story that you have lived so far, and you know what works and what doesn't. But the trick is to align to what works for you, not what works for everybody else. So let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the root center, where you feel pressure. I would love to talk to you about this. You all know how much I love talking to everyone in the community. So please feel free to also share any of these videos if you found them helpful with anybody you feel might find them useful. As I mentioned at the start of the video, if you want to grab your chart, please go to effiemos.com and you can grab your chart for free. And the links are also in the comments just below. And I will see you in the next video. But thank you so much for joining me, everybody. Take care. Bye.